Puerto Rico became a territory of the U.S. on December 10, 1898, when Spain ceded the island to the United States under the Treaty of Paris, following the Spanish-American War. This transfer marked the end of Spanish rule and beginning of a difficult relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States. Puerto Rico's political evolution from a Spanish colony to a U.S. territory and later a Commonwealth reveals a long struggle for self-determination marked by limited sovereignty, economic dependence, and unequal rights. The Foraker Act of 1900 created a civilian government under U.S. control, replacing Spanish rule. The change ended Spanish rule but introduced limited self-governance. The legal and political evolution of Puerto Rico involved, for example, the Jones Act of 1917, which granted U.S. citizenship to Puerto Ricans while allowing Congress to retain control over federal matters and commerce. The act deepened Puerto Rico's political dependence while offering limited rights. In addition, the Insular cases were a series of Supreme Court cases between 1901 to 1922, following the Spanish-American War. The rulings defined Puerto Rico as an unincorporated territory, and as a result, limits the extension of full constitutional rights to the citizens. Over the following decades, the growing demands for self-governance led to the 1947 Elective Governor Act, allowing Puerto Ricans to choose their own governor. This reform marked an important step toward greater political sovereignty, setting the stage for more substantial changes in the island's status. Furthermore, the creation of the Commonwealth and the 1952 Constitution established the Estado Libre Asociado, which responds to demands for self-governance. The island's unresolved status continues to spark debate over statehood, independence, or autonomy, highlighting the urgent need for a binding resolution that ensures full democratic representation and respects the will of the Puerto Rican people. As a result, Puerto Ricans are divided over the island's political status, leaving Congress unable to take a clear or decisive stance on the issue.
Bueno, primero, los casos insulares nos han afectado en el sentido de que nos definieron por lo que no somos. En este caso se definió a Puerto Rico por no ser un territorio incorporado y por no ser, digamos, un estado. Segundo, los casos insulares abrieron las puertas, precisamente por esa indefinición clara, a que se evaluaran las situaciones de los puertorriqueños ad hoc, según iban ocurriendo, y que entonces, digamos, se pudieran emitir políticas, tomar decisiones que podían ser coyunturales o que en ocasiones podían hasta estar en tensión unas de otras.
With the establishment of the Commonwealth, many pros and cons resurfaced after a couple of years. One of the positives with this status was that Puerto Rico had local autonomy under its own constitution, but it kept ultimate authority with the U.S. Congress. In short, the ELA's political structure mirrors a federalist system through the sharing of powers between states and local governments, while the state government itself operates under a separation of powers that divides authority among legislative, executive, and judicial branches.
El Estado Libre Asociado no creo, ¿verdad?, que sea ya funcional como modelo político, no creo que sea suficiente. Puedo entender, y ya desde hace décadas, de que el Estado Libre Asociado se agotó, ¿verdad?, en términos de su capacidad y de su potencial. Se habla, ¿verdad?, los que apoyan el Estado Libre Asociado hablan de adquirir mayores poderes. Eso difícilmente no ha ocurrido y difícilmente va a ocurrir. Hacia el lado de una mayor integración, pues ya sería, ¿verdad?, otra condición política, que sería la de integración a Estados Unidos. Pero en términos del Estado Libre Asociado, sus elementos, sus componentes, los que sustentaron ese proyecto político, económico y, por consecuencia, social durante décadas, se han ido desmoronando, ¿no?, se han ido disolviendo. Así que creo que no es suficiente, lo cual no significa de que no vaya a permanecer, ¿verdad? Ha tenido la capacidad de perpetuarse, de mantenerse, pero es porque no se han establecido opciones, ¿verdad?, que han sido viables, y eso es lo que ha permitido que el Estado Libre Asociado pues, todavía se mantenga y posiblemente por un tiempo también.
Puerto Rico has local self-government. but Congress retains plenary power, which means it can override any law. As a U.S. territory, the island does not have full voting rights or representation. Puerto Ricans cannot vote for the U.S. president and lack voting representation in Congress, posing fundamental questions about democracy and citizenship. The compact between Puerto Rico and the U.S. is not legally binding, which allows Congress to alter or revoke it at any time. Since this, the island has faced a lot of economic instability, limited access to federal programs, and unequal treatment under federal law. One example is the Promesa Act in 2016, which established a federal oversight board, further limiting Puerto Rico's control over its budget. The ongoing debt crisis, which is currently over $70 billion, highlights the financial risks of limited sovereignty. Given these ongoing challenges and limitations under the current Commonwealth status, many Puerto Ricans continue to debate alternative political options that could redefine the island's relationship with the United States. Puerto Rico faces three main political status options that would shape its relationship with the United States: statehood, free association, and independence. Each choice offers potential benefits and challenges that affect the island's economy, identity, and political future. Among these options, statehood stands out as one of the most discussed and controversial paths for Puerto Rico's future. Statehood would give Puerto Ricans full voting rights in U.S. elections and equal representation in Congress, ending their current territorial status. Statehood could also attract more businesses and professionals by offering political stability and clear legal protections under U.S. law. It could bring more federal funding, economic stability, and investment, but also raise federal taxes for residents and businesses. Some fear it could weaken Puerto Rico's culture and language, though supporters believe its identity would remain strong, as seen in culturally distinct states like Hawaii. However, it might also lead to the loss of certain local tax incentives that currently help Puerto Rico compete economically with other regions. Overall, statehood represents the path toward full integration with the United States, providing equality under U.S. law, but potentially reducing Puerto Rico's cultural and political autonomy. In contrast, free association status would make Puerto Rico a sovereign nation linked to the U.S. through negotiated agreements on defense, trade, and migration. This status would allow Puerto Rico to govern itself while maintaining a cooperative relationship with the United States, similar to the arrangement the U.S. has with nations like the Marshall Islands. It offers more independence and flexibility than ELA, but comes with uncertainty since agreements can change or end. Economic aid might continue, but without guarantees, making stability dependent on effective negotiations and governance. The main advantage of free association is increased sovereignty, but its drawback is the lack of long-term security and reliance on U.S. goodwill. Moreover, independence would give Puerto Rico full control over its government, economy, and foreign policy, strengthening national pride and identity. However, losing U.S. funds could hurt social programs, and building a self-reliant economy would be difficult. It could open global opportunities and international partnerships, but also risks economic instability and population loss during transition. Independence means complete separation from the U.S., allowing Puerto Rico to create its own constitution, currency, and trade policies, though it would no longer receive automatic U.S. support. Despite the differing advantages and drawbacks of each option, Puerto Rico's future remains uncertain as the island continues to face deep political division and an unresolved status question. Puerto Rico's political status remains unresolved due to complex factors relating to legal, political, and social challenges. Any change in status must be approved by both Congress and the President, and past referendums, while symbolic, are non-binding and lack enforcement mechanisms. Puerto Ricans have voted several times on statehood independence or the current status, but because these votes carry no legal power, the results have largely been forgotten at the federal level. Legal disputes among parties have delayed or complicated reform efforts. Additionally, public division continues to weaken momentum for change. Local parties remain divided on the best future status, and low voter turnout and plebiscite boycotts reduce the legitimacy of the results. Economic hardship and migration also divert public focus from long-term political reform. At the national level, Congress remains deeply divided on Puerto Rico's future, influenced by concerns about the issue of Puerto Rico. Concerns about language, culture, and fiscal costs influence decisions. As a result, Puerto Rico remains in a state of political uncertainty. This ongoing struggle for self-determination reflects a deeper historical context, highlighting Puerto Rico's centuries-long debate of its colonial legacy and the people's determination for equality. Despite the obstacles faced by Puerto Ricans to determine their political future, continued advocacy is defined by the will of its people. Ultimately, the quest for a definitive political status is not just about governance. It's about dignity, identity, and the right of Puerto Ricans to shape our own destiny.